the whole intention behind this set, and I shit you not, was that I wanted an excuse to talk about Magic the Gathering on stage. Like, that was the whole intention, and it turned into this whole thing, because I was like, how can I justifiably bring this on stage? And of course, me being me, I made it extremely complicated, but I also made it extremely cool, and I got to explore some thoughts I've never really been able to explore before, things that I'm still noodling on, all because I just wanted to talk about Magic the Gathering on stage. Everybody, it's Jack. Earlier this year I was able to do two different performances of effectively the same material, just in between the two performances. One was on March 30th and one was on April 6th. I edited it, and there's definitely a difference between the two of them, so I want to do a video where I compare these two performances and explore what happened.
I'm so excited to be here. My name is Jack. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. And happy Transgender Day of Visibility! Yeah! I am highly visible! I am transgender. You are looking at me. We have all satisfied the requirements of today. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's the first bit of the March 30th set. Great introduction. I fucking owned it. It was awesome. Great way to get transgender out the door, and especially in a straighter crowd. I really liked what I did there. Too bad not every day could be Transgender Day of Visibility, although I suppose with me it is.
I like chairs. If there's anything I want you to remember me about tonight, it's I like chairs, okay? That's my memorability thing. Hi, my name is Jack Simon.
Okay, so second set. I will say the audience was warmer on the second set for sure, a little less stilted, and it just shows with even the way that I'm choosing to approach it. But I also did another improvised bit. I want to make it clear that both of these bits in the first 20 seconds are improvised. Like, I wrote them in my head 5 minutes before I get on stage, which is my favorite thing to do when entering a room, is to try, I don't always succeed at this, but try to come in the first 15 seconds, something that is a direct response to the room or the day or life. In the case of number 2 here, there was no chair on stage, and I needed it for the set in the way that I'd kind of written it. And so me being me was like, I'm gonna bring a chair up here, I want to make it fucking funny. And I didn't intend to say I like chairs as the first words that people heard from me out of my mouth, because there's a few people in the audience who knew me, but many people did not. And it was a great way to introduce myself. Yep, there was a mood for sure. No regrets.
Thank you. I've been thinking a lot about constructs lately, like big, heavy constructs. And if the first thing that comes to your brain is an enchanted suit of armor with 20 AC and can do 2 attacks per turn, you are a nerd, and I love you. And also, that's not quite what I'm talking about. I'm talking about social constructs.
My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and I am transgender. Yeah! I also love constructs. Yeah! And when I say constructs, I don't mean construction. I don't mean enchanted suits of armor that have 20 AC and 2 attacks per turn. What I mean are social constructs, because they're super fun to dissect. We're going to dissect a few tonight. That's going to be the set. I'm going to take us through 2 constructs, and we're going to figure out what they mean. Yes, I was my English teacher's favorite student. How did you know?
Okay, immediately we can see that these 2 sets are beginning to diverge. By a lot. I had strong starts with both. In fact, in some ways, I think the start to set 1 is actually a little stronger, March 30th. But the difference is, I'm just better state and ground my intentions in set 2. Like, both sets, I am saying I'm going to be talking about constructs, and I'm trying to get off like a stupid joke about what constructs are, because I thought that's what is needed, and actually it's not what I needed. After I performed set 1 here, I happened to talk to someone in the crowd who's pretty big in the comedy scene in Boston, Rick, and he was like, hey, I mean, he's the owner of the comedy studio of the place that I am performing at, but anyways, and he was like, and I was like, what do you think happened? And he was like, I think what happened was that you just said you were thinking, but you didn't really have an emotional grounding, which was interesting, and I still don't quite get it, if I'm gonna be real, but I took what he said, and I did that in my second set off the top, and it works. I say I love constructs, which I say it facetiously, and that's how I present it, because how could someone really love constructs? And I actually really like thinking about constructs, but it is way more fun to say I love constructs, and that's more or less what I get at in that first bit there, because I am trying to translate an intention of the set from Magic the Gathering to maybe an actual intention here. Maybe I should just be like, yeah, I really just wanted to talk about Magic the Gathering. That's the whole intention of the set. But anyways, that would be such a funny way to start this, actually. Anyways, but we can see the difference in set 1 versus set 2 just by grounding it in an emotion. This time, the emotion that I grounded in was passion, which is true. I do have a passion for dissecting things. I do have a passion, and I mean that literally and metaphorically. I was so excited for dissection day in class. I promise you I'm not a serial killer. I don't dissect things willy-nilly. I just liked school section dissection because it was kind of cool to see what the insides of a frog were. I think it's important maybe to do that. You could make a case to me why that's a bad thing, but it was cool. I guess it was kind of unnecessary. I digress. But I do also enjoy genuinely dissecting English literature. I was my English teacher's favorite student. This is not a lie. Anyways, yeah, so the grounding it in the emotion really helped. And I think more than that, I think I just did a better job of laying out the intentions of the set 1 versus 2. You kind of get what my intentions are in the 1, but it's very clear in 2. My intentions are we're going to talk about social constructs. Why? Because it's fun and because I like to, and you're coming on a journey with me. That's it. Really, I think that shows how important it is to connect the thing to your intention, and then also connect the intention back to yourself as a comedian. Even if it's as simple as I just like it, just come with me on it, you'll have fun too. I get that you may not do this, which I do that with my tone pretty effectively here, but I do, and I will make it fun.
For example, when I was young in the 8th grade, I identified with the phrase, "I'm not like the other girls. I'm a cool girl, okay? I'm one of the boys." And that's a phrase we're not allowed to say anymore. That's a phrase that we're not allowed to identify with. It's cringe, you're being a try-hard, maybe you have internalized misogyny, blah, 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 I don't know. But when I was young, that's the best thing I had for my gender. That was the only words that I had. I didn't have transgender or they, them pronouns. I had, I'm not like the other girls, and I'm super cool.
First construct! I'm not like the other girls. Oh yes, I'm seeing some groans. I love this. You're gonna love what I say. So this is a phrase. I'm gonna give us an example of how we say this phrase. You say, "I'm not like the other girls. I'm one of the cool girls. I don't wear dresses or skirts or high heels." Here's the thing, I love this phrase because when I was younger, I kind of identified with it. And so I get a little defensive when I hear people say, "Oh, people who say I'm not like the other girls are cringe and misogynistic," because Janine, I was a trans masculine child. How else did you expect me to describe myself? It was Dallas, Texas, 2005.
So we're getting into a bit more of the meat of the set, where I'm trying to pull out the first example. I'm way more. This is where the set really starts to diverge, because in set 1, I'm getting no laughs. The audience is following along. They're interested. They're like that scary level of interest where you're like, shit, people aren't bored, but they aren't laughing, and I can't tell what's going on. And we're in set 2. Audience is super engaged, giving me a lot of reactions, a lot of variety in reactions. It was awesome. I think the reason for that is I did a way better job of delineating explanation and impact on me than I did in set 1. In set 1, I did explanation, but the explanation was kind of collapsed with the impact on me, and I said, well, in the 8th grade I liked this phrase, and then I said the phrase, and then I said, but we can't do this anymore, so I did explanation with some impact, not really, not a whole lot of great impact, like buried into me. And then I said, and more explanation, which is, like, but people say you can't do this anymore. Who's we in this? Like, there's some critique there. And then I do impact, finally. But since you're missing, but the impact I'm talking about, is actually more talking about the impact of the first explanation. Like, I say, well, this is important to me. So I'm like, explanation, this is what this is. Explanation, you're not supposed to do it anymore. Impact, but I did it. Contrast this with set 2, where I have a way better delineated explanation, impact, explanation, impact. I'm saying the same information, but because I present it in, I present it in a more structured way, a more, separated way, it helps get the point across so much better, and it helps people understand the impact this had on my life. And impact, I think, is where comedy comes from. And I think that maybe was what Rick was talking about when he meant emotions. It's just, we want to know what the impact is.
The other thing I love about that phrase is, who were these other girls? Where were they? I never saw them. Maybe they were in Kansas, I don't know, but they surely weren't my friends Caitlin, Carolyn, or Ashley. And I've realized now that the other girls were fake, like they don't exist. They're a construct. They're a patriarchal construct. And they represent an idealized form of femininity that is completely unattainable. So if the other girls are a patriarchal construct, shouldn't we not want to be like them? Furthermore, if they were real, I don't think they would be hurt if like I didn't want to be like them, okay? I wore this today. And like honestly, if they're just constructs, maybe they're obviously immune to psychic damage, so anything I say won't hurt them. Thank you.
Number 2, Janine. Who are these other girls? Where are they? Do they have a day job? Are they in school? Are they delinquents? It would explain a lot. Because here's the thing, these other girls don't exist, okay? They are an unattainable feminine ideal. They're a patriarchal construct. And because they're a patriarchal construct, it was okay if I didn't want to be like them, Janine. Secondly, if they're patriarchal constructs, if they're constructs, this means they wouldn't be hurt if I didn't want to be like them. They're constructs, they're immune to most forms of psychic damage.
Okay, so I lose it a little bit here on both. Not really. Mostly just from a place of organization. The first set continues to be a bit disorganized. I got like 2 thoughts here I'm trying to express. One is a joke that I found funny, which is like, who are these fuckers anyways? Like, who are these other girls that we are or are not supposed to be like? Like, I'm exploring that, you know, I'm pointing out, like, this is a bit of a ridiculous thing to think about and to say, regardless of how we feel about it, right? And I do enjoy how in both versions of these sets, I connect other girls back to, like, it's the reason why these girls, we don't know where they are, it's just because they don't exist, they're a construct. Then I get a bigger laugh on the second because I did a way better job of introducing what I mean by constructs at the top, right? Like, we know where I'm going, otherwise I wouldn't spend so much time on it, right? There's gonna be a payoff, right? Yes, there's gonna be a payoff. The second is still weaker than I would like for it to be. Honestly, I kind of wish that, there's the one thought, which is like, who are these people, they aren't real. There's the second thought, which is like, even if they were real, they wouldn't care. The joke here actually needs more clarity on either side of this. Like, if they weren't real, they wouldn't care. They're constructs, but constructs aren't real. Like, social constructs aren't real. That's kind of the point of what I'm saying. I mean, social constructs aren't real. That's philosophy, and this is not what we're doing in this video. Yeah, it's still more successful in 2 because I had the Janine bit to at least carry me, and I'd already introduced the success, but these bits are actually saying the same thing. One of them has slightly better, slightly more engaging presentation, but really the success of the laughter on set 2 all comes from the setup I'd done for myself earlier in the work. Yeah.
I've been also thinking, in terms of constructs, I've also been thinking a lot about sports ball. Do we remember sports ball? It was an awesome word. If someone came into your workplace and was like, I saw the big game last night, you'd be like, haha, sports ball, and you would own them. You were insufferable, and I loved it. Because for the longest time, the last 100 years, sports has been the major American pastime, and sports ball was a really beautiful way of making fun of it. But sports is a big, heavy construct, and it had an immediate reaction to sports ball. Just let people like things, okay? That's what people said when you said sports ball after a while. Just let people like things. And I love that, because I open a pack of magic cards every day at work. And I do this in secret, because if I let my coworkers know, I don't think they would say, just let people like things.
Second construct we're going to discuss, sports. I love sports. Not because I love sports, because I love sports ball. That is a noun, popular roughly 2017 to 2018. I'll give us a use case scenario. I will walk into my workplace, my jock coworker walks in and is like, hey Jack, that's how he speaks, hey Jack, did you see the Celtics game this weekend? I'd be like, no, sports ball, and I'd own him. I love that phrase because of how people started responding to that phrase. My jock coworker would come into work and say, hey Jack, did you see the Patriots game last weekend? He hadn't learned his lesson. I'd be like, no, sports ball. And then you go, just let people like things, okay? Just let people like things. Just let people like, which I find hilarious. Because I open a pack of magic cards once a week at work, and I do so in secret. Because I have a feeling if I let other people know, my coworkers know that I do that, I don't think their first phrase is just what people like things.
Okay, we have reached the magic card part of the set. We have reached the entire secret part of the set. I'm proud of myself. I can't believe I built a whole set just to do this one fucking bit. And there's more. So this is what's interesting here if we juxtapose set 1 with set 2. Set 1, people are starting to laugh at things that they do not laugh at all in set 2. And when I look at it, I think the set 1, like, if we're thinking about things in terms of explanation impact, I think the explanation is slightly better in set 1. In set 2, I was thinking that, well, the Janine bit is working, so therefore I should keep going with, like, an in-live example, right? Like, with the Janine bit, like, I was presenting as myself, and then I was presenting as Janine, and then I was reacting to Janine. So I thought, well, I should present as myself, react as burly coworker. And I don't think it quite worked, actually. I think I would disagree with that presentation now. I think I would actually just explain sports ball closer to the presentation in set 1. Mostly because, like, sports ball didn't actually have too much of an impact on me. I kind of liked it when it came out, and then when it was cringe, I stopped. It was actually very much mirrored the Not Like Other Girls progression that I did. For Not Like Other Girls, gosh, what was I saying here? For Not Like Other Girls, like I almost got close enough to, like, come out as a Not Like Other Girls, and then it was uncool, and I was like, oh, we gotta back off with this. Same thing for sports ball. I was almost ready to start using sports ball, and then it got uncool. I was like, oh, not good. This, it's something about my hesitation has long saved me from these cringe-inducing incidents. But, maybe I should have hesitated more on they, them pronouns. Joke. But, like, I think when I actually look back at both of these, trying to get too much mileage out of sports ball is actually a bad idea, and I think I could actually edit that down a little bit. Instead of spending, especially reacting as my coworker, it's not working. It's not a real scenario that's ever happened to me, so that's what I already hate about it. I never really said sports ball to a coworker. I am talking about, like, sports ball did come to be, and its response was how just dominant sports was in work conversations, and how many people who do not give a shit about sports were tired of hearing about it. That's what it was, and it wasn't just women pushing this conversation. There was, I think what I'd argue was, like, nerdy men being like, we're allowed to hate sports too, whatever. So in both cases, what I think is to go to, like, the set. Firstly, I actually think the reason why people are laughing more at this part in set 1 versus set 2 is because I've built up with all the explanation without a lot of good impact release here, I've built up a lot of tension, and people are almost willing to laugh at anything in set 1. Whereas in set 2, I've done a lot of explanation, a lot of great release, and then I have probably one of the worser explanations in the whole set, here at, like, the sports ball. You know, I would call this, like, Act 2, which means that the expressive, I basically don't keep my pattern going as strongly. I do not think the sports ball explanation is nearly as good. I just kind of jump into it, and I just kind of assume knowledge, and I don't like how I did that. What that does is it prevents there from being tension to be released, is what I'm getting at. Looking at it all, the tension, the impact on me that I'm actually discussing, like, it was a bummer not to use sports ball anymore, but I'm not saying that's enough of an impact to make it funny. The impact on me, and the reason why people are laughing at both of the magic card bits, is because that's the impact. The impact of people defending themselves against sports ball, of, like, sports kind of winning again in office politics, is that I still can't talk about the shit that I care about in the office. No one in my office still knows that I open magic cards. They know that I play it, but they don't know to what extent that I did it at work. I don't actively open magic cards right now. I was kind of happy. You know, I'm not like one of those magic people. But, yeah. So I think that's what's happening there. So I think in the future I would actually explain sports ball faster. I still like the idea of bringing in the jock character. I think that just what people like things is super fun, but I don't know if I would do the whole pantomime. I need to play around with that, and then really just try to get its impact on me as quick as possible, which is, well, fuck you, I still can't talk about the things I'd like to talk about in the workplace.
And now that I've come out to you as someone who plays Magic the Gathering, I know there's a stereotype, okay? I know there's a stereotype that people like me don't shower. We spend lots of money on those cards. I'm not like the other Magic card players, okay? I'm a cool Magic card player. I only buy the Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering crossover set. It's very cool. Very cool. Just let people like things.
And now that I have come out to y'all as a Magic the Gathering player, I want to acknowledge there is a stereotype that people who play this game don't shower, they spend hundreds of dollars on these cards. I want to let you know that I am not like the other Magic card players. I'm one of the cool Magic card players. I only buy from the Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering crossover set. It's very cool. It's very cool, okay? So people like things. The joke is funny because it's 100% true, and there are people here tonight who can verify this.
Alright, well, this is what the whole set was about. This is the joke I wanted to make. It was about Magic the Gathering. I'm not like the other. This literally, this is the intention of this bit, actually, but I can't say it at the top, or maybe I can. Maybe I could be like, hey everybody, my name is Jack. I really want to talk about Magic the Gathering. If I could do a whole set about that, I would, but I can't. So we're going to talk about constructs. Might be funny, I don't know. We should fucking try it. But this is the reaction effectively to sports ball, and I now that I see this, it's great, and I'm gonna make these changes. But anyways, I don't really have too much commentary here. The jokes actually hit both really well in both audiences. They almost have the same level of like reaction, and I really appreciate that audience 1 from set 1 still laughed, because it meant that they were definitely listening and definitely paying attention to the not like other girls bit. I just didn't have the release during that part to make it fun. The releases just make it fun, and I don't really know what helps with that in some ways, but yeah, I don't really have a lot to comment on here. I guess what I really like about these bits is that an audience 1.
But truly, I've been thinking about the constructs that we choose to defend, and I've been framing this as a choice, right? Like, we have constructs we choose to defend, but if you think about it, constructs are big and heavy, and usually made of dwarven metal, and deep underneath the caverns of Skyrim, and you have to go and defeat them to finish your stupid fucking quest. And they have a lot of inertia. Right now, there's some huge gender constructs right now that have a huge amount of inertia in the United States. And we're starting to see some reactions to that. There's a lot of laws. And while I think it's really easy to think that this is coming from a place of hate, I honestly think it's just inertia about 80% of the time.
So we just talked about the constructs. The reason why I'm enamored with these constructs because it is interesting what constructs we choose to defend. Both of these represent kind of gendered huge things in society, and both other girls and Thornsball are pretty practical responses to these huge constructs. In the case of the other girls, it's a response to this hyper-idealized feminine ideal. In the case of sports ball, this is Boston. I know that the Patriots won the Super Bowl like 5 times in a row or whatever, and I didn't want to know that information. I could walk randomly into Boston one day and there'll be a parade because we won something. I have to go and walk to the store for my magic cards. In Boston, sports just show up to you. Because there are people in the audience that know me tonight, I want to say that yes, I do show up to baseball games occasionally. This is because baseball isn't really a sport. It's just math with the excuse to drink beer. It's like the best form of accounting. Also, there's cards associated. It is interesting what constructs we choose to defend, and honestly, I don't know if it's a choice all the time. Constructs are large, they're heavy, they're made of dwarven metal, and were abandoned by the dwarves years ago underneath Skyrim, and I gotta defeat them to get on with my stupid quest! What I'm saying is constructs have a lot of inertia. There is a lot of laws out here right now being made against people like me, and I think it's easy to think that it's from a place of hatred. I think it's like 20% hatred, but I also think it's like 80% inertia.
Okay, there's a lot going on in this section, and I'm expressing a lot of kind of complicated ideas all at once. As you can see, they're the same section, more or less. I'm saying, hey, I just talked about these 2 things. What do they mean? And the meaning I'm trying to make of them, and I don't do as good of a job, and this is one of the biggest improvements I'd like to make to the set, because it will involve putting up little setup pieces earlier in the set to make this work. From, honestly, not even a funny point of view, but just from a, if I'm gonna go this far to, like, make a construct set, the excuse is Magic the Gathering, I really should, like, ground what it is that I'm saying. Because what I'm saying is, it is interesting how big constructs, like other girls is talking about feminine beauty standards, sports is kind of a masculine thing that we kind of expect as normal for, at least for masculine people to be into. When there are small protests against that, which like that's what sports ball and not like the other girls were about, it was interesting how easily those big constructs crushed those and labeled those as cringe, and you're not really supposed to do those things anymore, and it's, and in a weird way, like, it gets turned on its head, where, like, the sports ball were being really annoying people, and, like, god, man, we should just let people fucking like things, and the not like other girls people were like totally being anti-patriarchal, because how dare they have a problem with traditional feminine beauty standards, right? Like, it's interesting how that happens, and that's what I'm getting at, is like, is it that when people are upholding gender roles, is it from a place of hatred, kind of, but like, I think it is actually a bit more just about inertia. And I do think that these little protests that people stage from time to time are actually pretty important, because they do slow down the inertia, right? I feel like thanks to sports ball and other, I think, broader conversations around sports in the workplace and all the jokes you see, especially on Twitter about that, or just the internet in general, I think that's helped temper sports from being this accepted dominant cultural phenomenon to a little more tempered and a little bit more like, hey, if you're into it, you're into it. If you're not, you're not. And I think that's helped maybe more nerdier things, not become dominant cultural things, but at least more permissible to talk about in the workplace, or just to be generally interested in. I will say more permissible, not totally permissible, because I'm still not going to talk about magic cards at work. Not my hill to die on. What I think is interesting is the difference between these 2 sets. I mean, I do a fine job of explaining what I'm trying to explain, because even I'm not totally clear, and I think I could do better there. But I do like how in set 2 I go on a little bit of a journey and I extend this whole sports thing a little further, and it makes me wonder if that should be more integrated, because I do a really good job of like explanation and then reaction and impact on me, right? Like, it's more continuation of that juxtaposition between Magic the Gathering and sports, and especially in the context of Boston, which in presenting this in Boston makes this super duper fun. And I just love the way the, like, I know that the Patriots won so many times, and I didn't try to know this information. I love that. It's such a great speaking to me experience of just living in fucking Boston. I'm also from Dallas, so somehow I managed to go Dallas to Boston, another city obsessed with freaking sports. It's fine, you know, just let people like things. And then the whole baseball bit, I don't know if that's necessary. I felt a need, because there were people specifically at show 2 that I knew would know me, and I felt a need to defend myself against them specifically, and I think I did a good job contextualizing it. The baseball jokes aren't the most creative. I've definitely heard versions of them before. They're definitely my jokes. I definitely wrote them, but I don't know if I'll keep them or not. I'm not, like, super enthusiastic about them. But they're also kind of a fun, easy thing to throw in that's a bit more, like, normal stand-up versus this fucking gargantuan, like, fucking English essay you're getting from me, so maybe I do need to give the crowd that. I should keep it in my back pocket for sure.
I'm gonna leave us on one more thought. If I'm gonna be honest with y'all, deep down, I think they, them pronouns are kind of cringe. I don't want to lose y'all, okay? This is Somerville. We were like the beta test for they, them pronouns. I know this. The reason why I'm here. But it's something that's very new to a lot of people. And sometimes people misgender me. And when they misgender me, sometimes I let it go. Because I want to be one of the cool trans, okay? I'm not like the other trans. I'm one of the cisgenders. I don't get mad about pronouns. But thinking about all this, the next time I see someone doing something and it doesn't hurt anyone else, I'm just inclined to let them like that thing, okay? Just let people like things. And let trans kids play sports ball, okay? That's my show, everybody. Thank you so much.
So, I'm going to end with one more thing. I like chairs. No. I've been thinking a lot about this because I use they, them pronouns. And sometimes I think they, them pronouns are kind of cringe. Now stay with me. I know this is Somerville, okay? We were the beta test for they, them pronouns. This is old news, but for other people, it is new news. And sometimes when people misgender me, I don't correct them. Because I want to be one of the cool trans. I don't want to be like the other trans. I'm one of the cisgenders. I don't care if I get misgendered. I totally do. So, I think the thing that we can learn from this is that society has these big constructs, and sometimes people come up with clever responses to them. And then they get labeled as cringe. And what I've realized is that the next time I see someone doing or saying something I think is cringe, I'm just gonna let them like things, okay? And let trans kids play sports ball. Yeah! Thank you!
Yeah, I mean, the ending on both of these is almost near identical. I didn't really make a whole lot of changes. What I really love about the ending here is I do a really good job of tying all the jokes together and kind of giving a meaning to all of it. Like, what is the overall impact on me? Like, why am I caring to talk about all of this? So it's like I did the whole set in of itself was an explanation, and I provide a really satisfying, grounded, emotional impact that isn't from a place of humor, but instead a place from, like, I don't know, eugen is kind of what I feel when I see it. It's kind of nice. And I'm just super duper proud that I could bring and call back, like, I'm not like the other blanks. I'm just gonna let people like things. I call back sports ball. Like, I basically call back the whole set and tidy it up in a nice way. I think from a less of a comedic and presentation perspective, I think if I were to think about this from maybe an essay writing perspective, I don't don't think all of the ideas land as well. What do you expect? That was supposed to be about Magic the Gathering. But I think if I think about things more in terms of explanation impact, which I know is like setup punchline, but I find the definition of explanation impact to be a little bit better and more helpful for me in how I think through comedy. I can see where there's areas where I could do a better job of increasing actually some explanation here, which might then help better with the impact. And also I just love how that Somerville line hits. It hits so well in both. I think I could still do that in other parts of the state. I don't know if I kind of wonder like how far of a radius I have to get outside of Boston before I actually have to explain Somerville to people a little more. We'll see. But yeah, that's my most recent set dissection. This one's a bit more of a casual one. I'm trying out different styles here. I thank you so much for watching. As usual, I have a Patreon. And I'm trying to post most of my sets there so that if anyone wants to do a set dissection there for me. I am curious about what other people think, you know, just to kind of recap here. I said the intention of this was to learn something. And, you know, I think I did a pretty thorough explanation of what happened and how I feel about it and the impact it has on me. I guess the impact both these sets have had on me is, you know, I'm just really proud of my work. I'm honestly still really proud of set 1, even though I was bombing. Like, I carried, and because I carried, jokes in the set were able to later hit. Like, it wasn't a total wash. And I learned a lot about, like, what works and what doesn't by doing something that didn't work. And I also got very good advice from somebody in the audience. And then on set 2, like, it helped me show me what I was capable of. It helped show a couple other people in the industry what I was capable of. I really enjoy that. So, yeah. Intention was to learn. I did the sets. I did a lot of talking about how I felt about them, and these sets have had like a positive impact on terms of like what I've done for myself here in the Boston comedy scene so far. So yeah, tell me what you think below. And this is a genuine ask. This isn't just like trying to manufacture your engagement. I do love any and all forms of feedback. So especially if you like, what do you think about like explanation impact? What parts of the sets really resonate with you? What do you, even the format of this video, I'm kind of curious to hear what people think about, you know, like, should I be linking, the full sets in the description so that you can watch them and then maybe provide more of a commentary? I really want to know. Yeah, so I have an email list. You can get on that list if you want to see things. I'm trying to, if you're not from the Boston area, it'll be hard to see me because that's where I'm performing right now, but I would recommend getting on it because I'm trying to figure out ways, like, I want to start, like, recommending, like, sets you can watch on Netflix or YouTube as part of this email list, so you can still, like, enjoy things that I enjoy along with me, especially if you're somebody who likes headier comedy like I do. So, yeah. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. It's dark where I'm at because it's Boston and it's daylight savings, which means it's dark forever for the next 4 months. Alright, bye everybody.